Chapter 1. Poking Around Dead Things. "Hello guys, welcome back to our channel Midnight Mysteries," said Tammy, pointing the camera at himself. "As you can see, we have finally arrived at cottage number 13. Phew. Honestly guys, it wasn't easy. The travel alone was exhausting. Back there you can see Ash unpacking our bags. We are going to take a good nap before we set up our equipment, but before that, let me show you guys around." He stood up and started pointing his Handycam all around the cottage. It was an old cottage. The dust had covered everything, including the floor and the wooden furniture. The lanterns on the walls were evidence that nobody had rented this cottage for quite a long time. Ash was now lighting up those lanterns while Tammy walked out. "Let me take you outside. I know a lot of you guys would be thinking, how do we know it's the same cottage? So here." He pointed his Handycam towards the faded number 13, painted on the door with yellow paint. "Tammy, don't go too far. Don't worry, I'm just walking around the cottage." It was a cold afternoon in November. The clouds blocked almost all of the light. The trees did the rest of the job. It was getting even darker every passing minute as the night was approaching. Tammy circled the cottage once and got back inside. "So guys, that's it for now. We are going to start investigating tonight, but not before we take a good little nap, so bye for now. We will keep you posted. Be on your guard. Night's approaching." He stopped the recording, put the camera on the table, and turned to Ash, who was now laying the sleeping bags next to a battery-operated lamp. "Oh, not so quick. First, put the video up." "I'll do it later," Ash said lazily, getting inside his sleeping bag. "Oh, come on, man, I am tired too, I still recorded this." "And I swept the floor and lit up lanterns and made our beds. Besides, we don't have Wi-Fi here. We'll have to go back to the reception to upload the video, so let me sleep. And you take some rest too," replied Ash from inside his sleeping bag. Tammy opened his mouth to say something but thought better of it, and he too got inside his bag, and within minutes, they were both fast asleep. Ashish and Tanmay were childhood friends. They had been together for about 15 years before they went to college. They took different classes. Ash chose mathematics and science, and Tammy decided to study art, literature, and history. They were also managing a YouTube channel named Midnight Mysteries. Tammy created the channel because he was obsessed with ghosts and spirits. He talked about mysterious events happening all around the world. Ash joined later to put a scientific view on the subject. The contrast between their opinions became the highlight of their channel, and they managed to get about a few 100,000 subscribers. This year, when they graduated, they decided to take a trip to any of the haunted places of the country. They discussed every possible destination. They left out the most popular places like the haunted fortress of Bangar, the haunted village Kuldhara, and many more across the country, mostly because they had become mere tourist spots. Finally, Tammy came up with this haunted cottage in the mountains that rarely anybody knew about. There had been a few cases of missing people and the death of an archaeologist. Ash and Tammy announced it on their channel and finally reached there. They had brought EMF devices, motion sensors, and night vision cameras with them. It wasn't all. They also packed an Ouija board. They were sure that this journey would take their channel to the mark of 1 million subscribers. But there was something that they didn't know about and were going to find out very soon. They woke up in the middle of the night. After a snack that they had packed, they decided to upload the video that Ash had recorded that afternoon. "Turn on the laptop," said Ash. He picked up the camera and switched it on, except it didn't turn on. "Dude, did you exhaust the whole battery in one recording?" he asked. Tammy looked at Ash, trying to understand. Then he clenched his teeth and looked guilty. "I might have left it on." "Doesn't matter, it automatically turns off after 5 minutes of inactivity." "Then I really don't know. Just hand me the other battery. We'll go to the reception and charge it back again. We have to go there anyway to upload the video. There's no signal here. Let me edit the video, and then we'll go." Tammy took a new battery out of the bag and handed it to Ash. Then he took out the laptop, pressed the power button, but he was interrupted by Ash, who shouted at Tammy, "Dude, did you even charge the batteries?" "What? What happened now?" "It's not turning on." "Is it broken?" "Well, you tell me, you are the last one who used it." "It was working fine, I even left it on." "Then you forgot to charge the batteries like you always do." "Oh, and you do your job perfectly." Tammy was now pissed. "Did you charge the laptop?" "Yes, I did. I unplugged it in front of you right before leaving." Tammy remembered and was now concerned. Yeah, I saw you. Then why isn't it working? What has happened?" He stopped abruptly. He just had a crazy thought. He looked up at Ash, who was looking at him with confusion. "Do you think... could this be..." He was looking at Ash while being as dramatic as he could. Ash looked at him for a second and then he realized what Tammy meant. "Oh, come on," he said. "You are not serious, are you?" "What else could it be?" "Wait a minute." Ash had a different thought. "Is this some long pre-planned prank? Did you do this on purpose? You drained the batteries, didn't you?" "What are you talking about? Why would I do this?" "You are trying to scare me. This is a prank, isn't it?" "No, it's not a prank, Ash. I think it's real. It could be a ghost." "Come on, ghosts aren't real, you know that." Tammy was taken aback for a moment. "What?" he said, looking at Ash. He looked hurt. "You don't think ghosts are real? What about all that stuff you say during our videos? And why are you here then?" He didn't notice that they both had started shivering from the cold. "For our channel, why else? People like to hear that kind of stuff. I thought you knew this." "I can't believe this. So you were lying to me all this time?" "Well, I thought you knew." "So you don't believe in ghosts?" "Tammy, I am a student of science. How can you ever convince me about the existence of ghosts?" Tammy didn't get a chance to speak because the lamp next to Ash started flickering. They both jerked their heads towards the lamp. It was flickering violently. They both exchanged scared looks, and that's when they noticed that the room was freezing. They could both see their frozen breaths in the air. They dashed towards the door together as if they were communicating through their minds. Ash tried to open the door but couldn't. It almost seemed as though someone was pulling the door from the other side. They both tried to open the door together, but it didn't budge. Then suddenly, they both felt a massive wave of force which threw them across the cottage. They fell on the wooden floor and stayed down because they were so terrified that they couldn't even move. They were both shivering, not just because of the cold, but also fear. Ash started crying. Tammy was shaking violently, and then they both saw it. About half a dozen gray, translucent figures appeared in the air, hovering above them around the cottage. Ash let out a terrified scream. Tammy put a hand on his mouth. They both crawled into a corner right next to each other. The figures were floating in the air. Some of those would flow through a wall and later appear out of another wall. Ash and Tammy were now so scared that they couldn't even scream for help. And as if it wasn't enough because another tall, gray, translucent figure appeared in the center of the room. It was a man in his 40s. He was wearing old clothes, his face covered with a beard. Tammy recognized him despite being terrified. He was the ghost of the archaeologist. He was not hovering in the air like the others, nor was he moving at all. He simply stood in the middle of the room, turning his head left-right as if he was looking for something. Ash now totally lost it. "Oh no, oh God, please no." He looked dreadful. Tammy was shaking so horribly that he couldn't even pray for his life, but he didn't need to because someone had arrived just outside the cottage. Ash and Tammy heard heavy footsteps outside the cottage, followed by loud banging on the door. "Help, we are in here, help us," Ash bellowed. Whoever was outside the door was trying their best to open the door, but when nothing seemed to work, the person started kicking. The first kick did nothing, but the second one knocked the door off its hinges. The person entered the room. But Ash and Tammy couldn't see him because he threw something on the floor with all his force that exploded into a thick cloud of dust and smoke which filled the whole room. When the dust settled, the smoke cleared, and when Ash and Tammy stopped coughing, they looked up at the tall figure standing over them. At first, they thought it was the ghost of the archaeologist, but it looked solid. And when the lamp stopped flickering, they saw a man with a big square face with small eyes and stubble. He offered his hand, which Tammy grabbed and stood up, then helped Ash get back up. They were still shaking a bit. The room was still cold, but just the usual November cold, not the ghost-chilled. "You guys all right?" the man asked. He had a gentle but strong voice. "Yeah," replied Tammy, trying to catch his breath. "Who are you?" The man looked at them for a second before answering. "Name's Arjun."